Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And welcome to this glorious blistering hot day here in southern England when I'm going to answer a question from a viewer about homage watches, right? That topic which divides the room. And I've had an email from Daniel from Nuremberg in Bavaria, who says to me, I currently have 4 watches I use on a weekly rotation. 2 of them are homage watches. I also have a pocket watch that's been in the family since 1890. And he goes on to say that he has a part-time job as a web developer, which doesn't make a huge amount of money, but he does love design and things that work reliably. And as a result of that, homage watches are the best compromise that he can find in his life to the watches he would love to own but can't access because of funds. And he asks my thoughts on homage watches in general. He does tell me that the 2 homage watches he wears are the Steinhardt Ocean One Vintage Red and also the Steinhardt 39 Adventure. And I think it is fair to say that homage watches do divide the room when it comes to opinions on whether you should or whether you shouldn't wear them, whether it's okay to wear a watch which bears a striking, if not identical resemblance to another watch which is typically of a higher design level or much more expensive. But I think the important thing is that we just focus for a moment on the word homage. Homage in the dictionary typically will mean to pay special honour or respect to something publicly. It's come to mean something different in the watch world. A homage watch typically is something which resembles a watch much more expensive, much more of classic design. It is not a replica, a copy or a fake. A homage watch has a distinction. It looks similar to another type of watch. It doesn't pass itself off as that watch. In other words, it's not, adopting the brand identity, displaying a logo, or putting itself out there in a way that it would be easily confused with that much more established, traditional, much more expensive wristwatch. Homage watches really do tend to divide views. Some will say it's an out-and-out cash grab by a company who has no imagination, no design chops themselves, and they will just adopt the style of a watch, put a different name on it, put a different logo on it, and sell it in such a way that, it's not really about paying respect, it's about financial gain. And we see that very typically on watches which are infamous, like the Rolex Submariner, and a few of the others that we will talk about here today. Others will say that there are positives to homage watches, that you do get some pros to owning a homage watch and bringing it into your life for any number of reasons. However, we'll go through the pros and cons in a moment, but what I'd like to do is just take a moment to look at the watches which Daniel says that he has in his collection as homage pieces. Now, the first one he says is the Steinhardt Ocean One Vintage Red. Now, that is a homage to the Rolex Sea Dweller Double Red. That watch, if you wanted to buy it today, would cost £20,000 at least, because they're long out of production and they are a classic watch indeed. The Steinhardt costs €450. So it's not an inexpensive watch, but it is a watch which mirrors that Rolex Sea Dweller. The Steinhardt is 42mm in diameter, 13mm thick. It's got a sapphire crystal on it, black aluminium bezel like those classic divers from the Rolex era where it's from. It does have, the Steinhardt has 300 meters of water resistance. So it's got the same as a Rolex Submariner. It's quite a capable watch. And Steinhardt is not a fly-by-night company which has just breezed in, chucked a load of, Rolex looking watches on the market and done a runner once they've done a cash grab. They are a company mired in engineering. They were founded in 2001 by Gunther Steinhardt in the German town of Augsburg. And their first product, the Ocean One, remains their most popular watch to this very day. They sell online and through authorised dealing distribution sort of network, directly from their German HQ as well. And all Steinhardt models come with Swiss movements, including ETA and SOPROD movements. So these are not crappy, Chinese movements and complications inside these watches. On an engineering basis, they are actually very good products. All of their models, as they will say, are designed in-house, but they absolutely will take inspiration from other brands which have gone before them. Now, the other model which Daniel wears is the Steinhardt 39 Adventure. And when you look at this one, it screams Rolex Explorer 1. And it's a 39mm watch, 13mm thick, with a screw down crown, 100 meters of water resistance, and that costs €490. And again, it is very, very similar in appearance to that Rolex Explorer. However, it clearly bears the Steinhardt identity. It's not a fake, it's not a replica. It is a watch with its own identity, but its inspiration is so heavily influenced by the Rolex brand, it will be hard to distinguish them apart from, I don't know, more than 6 feet away, I guess. So that's where the opinion is divided when it comes to homage pieces. But as I said, there are pros and cons. Now, the first pro I can see to owning a homage watch is that it allows you to own a watch which would not typically be available to you because of its price point. All right, so maybe that Sea Dweller homage, let's get the wording right, that Sea Dweller homage watch, it would cost in excess of £20,000 in the modern world, but you really love that watch. You couldn't afford it. The only way to do so is by buying a homage. That's one of the pros. You can access a watch which you wouldn't typically be able to do so. You can scratch that itch. The other thing that a homage watch does for you is it allows you to take some of the gamble out of buying a very expensive watch, particularly a Rolex, because you can't even see them these days unless you're lucky to go into an authorized dealer and they've got an exhibition model. But if you think you would like to buy, I don't know, shall we say a Sea Dweller, and you think, okay, I think I like it, but I've never tried one on, I've never seen one in real life. By buying a homage watch at a fraction of the actual price of that watch, you get to have a lived experience with a very, very similar watch. Same size, same dynamics, same aesthetics, and you might find that after 6 months of living with that homage watch, you don't like it. And you've saved a pile of money because you haven't gone out on a limb and bought a watch without living with it for a while. You've lost far less money in that experience. So that's one of the pros. Another pro, it allows you to own a watch which is no longer in production. So if we think of that Steinhardt, that Sea Dweller homage, no longer in production, long since been discontinued, but it has a distinctive style. It's different to the modern day Sea Dwellers, which look very different, but that's the one you want. The only way you can buy it in a new model is actually by going down the homage route, unless you go to an auction and end up sort of, forking out £20,000 plus for a watch. Again, it might not be the route you want to take. But if you want that watch inexpensively, when it's no longer in production, the homage watch is certainly a way of accessing that. The other thing that, let's not forget, that all of these homage watches, just like the Steinhardts, they are not cheap knockoffs. They are actually of high quality engineering pieces themselves. They have high levels of water resistance. That Sea Dweller homage piece, it actually has the ability to go down to 300 meters of water resistance, the same as the modern day Submariner. It is a very capable watch within itself, with a Swiss movement, designed and built in Germany. These are not inexpensive pieces. They are high quality watches. Take aside the fact that they are paying inspiration to another actual more famous watch, taken on its own, that watch is a good quality watch and worth owning at the price point which you're having access to. And some of the simple things, security concerns. All right, if you walk around in London at summer months with the sleeves rolled up, and you've got that highly expensive, very identifiable, shall we say, that Rolex Sea Dweller on your wrist, you put yourself in a security danger position, because there are gangs of thieves who will approach you, steal you, threaten you. I see it in the papers every day, because people are wearing £10,000, £20,000 on their wrist. They are going to get mugged. If you wear a Homage piece, you stand far less to lose if that happens to you. And finally, you can actually buy these watches. If you want to buy a Submariner from Rolex, you go into a store, you're going to end up going on a fancy dance with the authorized dealer. You might have to buy several other watches, spend thousands of dollars, pounds, and still never get that Submariner that you want at retail price. But if you buy a Homage piece, you can buy it tomorrow, put it on your wrist the day after when it arrives in the post, and you're already living the experience with the aesthetics of the watch which you fell in love with. That's one of the advantages of the Homage piece. Now, I thought long and hard about some cons to owning a Homage watch, and I could think of only about 2 or 3. The most obvious one is that people will immediately think that you are the sort of person who wears a fake watch. A lot of people don't get the difference between homage, replica, fake, copy. They just think fake. This guy is wearing a fake watch because he can't afford the real thing. That's what people would think. Might not be true for the reasons I've just outlined, but that's the impression people are going to get. And you run the risk of being perpetually known as the fake watch guy, when in all reality, that may not be the case at all. You are merely wearing that Homage piece because you like the look of it. The watch that you want is no longer in production, and that was the only way you could put that watch on your wrist. The only other con I could really think of which affects the Homage watch world is maybe this. So let us say you've bought that Homage Submariner, right? Look-alike watch, and you've worn it for a while. And you think, do you know what? I really connect with this style of watch. I love it. I still want to buy the Submariner. The only thing is now, you're 700 euros in the hole because you've bought that Homage Submariner, you've forked out the money for it. You're not going to get much for it when you resell it on because nobody's really interested. There's not a great market in, second-hand Homage watches. So you've spent that 400, 500, 600, 700 euro, and now you still want to begin the dance to buy the Submariner when that money could have been more suitably invested in your journey to the Submariner at the first place. In other words, you've invested your money and it's now kind of lost to you because you still really want the watch that you really wanted at the beginning of your journey. So there we go. My view is that the Homage watch world allows people to gain access to watches that they perhaps wouldn't be able to, that they couldn't afford, or that have gone out of production, and they allow you to scratch an itch as long as you're not too precious about wearing a watch which looks strikingly similar to a much more famous, much more expensive watch out there. So, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, click the subscribe button. If you'd like to leave me a comment, leave it in the comment section below. And as the helicopter arrives to whisk me off to lunch, I will say take care, and I will see you again very soon.